I always laugh whenever you come on. Like the face that you have is always so serious.
It's my normal face.
That's that resting bitch face that I used to hate.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, sorry about that small delay. There was some loud bangs outside, and in this country, you're never sure. It could be crickets that are going off or curtains. So I just have to make sure. I see my boy is also on here. If he wants to join, you'll just give me an invite.
Who is your boy?
Anyway, man, from the other life.
Okay, are we waiting for people?
Are you waiting for someone?
No. Well, there might be someone, but I said she can join whenever she's available.
She's ready. All right, no problem. Yeah, I've noticed in a few lives I've never got a comfortable like seating position in this chair. Maybe you should give me some ergonomics since I've been giving other people.
Yeah, I told you it's OT's territory, but yeah, you have
Yeah,
to feel it for yourself, right?
yeah. Anyway, um, yeah. So last time I had two talks about this. The first one, it was quite extensive. It was cut off, like it was cut off like legit on the incline. And the second one was legit the same, cut off on the incline.
Mm.
And then I had a third one, which was on Zoom, because the other girl was an hour away. She was in Dubai. So they don't have can't video call there and that. So we
Oh
had to
yeah.
do it on Zoom, and she was quite vocal, which was amazing. And I had hoped that was recorded and all of that, but yeah, it recorded, but there was no sound.
Mm.
Um,
I didn't watch any
yeah,
of those things, so I have no idea what you guys
yeah,
chatted about.
yeah, which is good. Yeah, it's fine. Yeah, the third one, look, the first one was kind of like I said to you before. I wanted to just hear from the female side on life. Then the
Mm.
second one was just a continuation of that, and then in the second one, it was a continuation of just a general, like how it is for a female to to be brought up, just being female really, and then going through the certain phases of life. And then it got to a point where obviously we got into that whole fear thing, like where the fear comes in with the whole, you know, I don't want to use that word, yeah, or that term. But yeah, so it got into that whole fear thing about yeah, females are in fear of all certain things and that, and then it kind of got into that, and then I think when it got into that, that's when the vocal people started speaking out because then it became back and forth again, and I wanted to
Mm.
just iron it out. So then it went into the third talk because that one was cut off, um, which was then quite fiery to begin with, and then it yeah kind of simmered down. Um, so yeah, I would like to pick up on the second talk then because you weren't on there, but basically that's for me. It's like I've been listening to and talking to obviously a lot of guys, being a guy, growing up all boys school. That's pretty much my forte is the boys. Um,
That
and I
specific
never really
school.
and I never really, yeah, I never really got into the whole growing up female thing. And I wanted to know a bit more about it. Just how, like, just I know how it is in terms of just the whole just looking outwards, but just actually what actually goes through, what the different mindsets are. I used to find myself getting into a lot of trouble in varsity with interacting with females because it was just way too far fetched for me. So yeah, just basically that. I mean, that's how we kind of just met as well. It's just through tough times, rough and tough times, which is a good thing because you went to an old girls' school. So there must have been a massive difference. So I mean, that already sums up a lot.
No, it doesn't. I went
Yeah,
to a co-ed primary school. It's not like I was just surrounded by girls.
yeah. Then you went to Rustenburg when?
A high school.
Only high school.
Yeah.
Oh, that's crazy. All right. Okay. Well, so I mean, you were kind of like this, the one of the quieter ones in high school.
No,
Yeah, one of them for sure. You were the quieter ones in varsity, so you have to be the quieter ones in high school.
I don't think that matters here.
It does, because I was one of the vocal ones in high school.
Okay, but
So then it just comes
what does
down.
that have to do with this conversation though?
It's fine,
You're
it's
talking
fine.
about how we met. How did we meet?
Never mind, never mind, never mind. Okay, so tell me then.
What?
Yeah, how is it like? Yeah, just the journey of a woman. It might seem simple to you, but like I have absolutely no idea like what the difficulties are, what the privileges are, and all of that. And
Oh,
you said you wanted to speak
geez.
about women.
Well, I think my journey is very different. Firstly, to many, or if not all the girls you know, except maybe the Arab girls that you know now.
Yeah, maybe one or two, but even the other ones are crazy.
Yeah, so basically, I think as growing up, I was very sheltered uh, compared to a lot of people, and especially going to high school, everyone had freedom. Everyone's parents were sort of with the times, except mine. Um, so I think, well, in hindsight, I appreciate that, but I think it delayed me in terms of standing up for myself and like being assertive and standing my ground. Like I don't think I think it happened, the opportunities came my way later. I feel like if I had an opportunity to go out and explore during high school, I probably would have been a stronger person now.
Stronger how?
Just socially and possibly it probably covers like emotionally as well. Um,
You
yeah, just
you you think you skipped the stage and now you're getting that stage now.
not necessarily skipped it. It just came later. I don't know if that makes
All
sense,
right.
right?
Yeah.
So
Mm-hmm.
when other people were having drama with friends and boys, I didn't have any drama, you know. And there was none
Yeah.
of that like conflict management that I needed to do on my own until only later on when I became a young adult.
How did that affect you, like working then and actually being out there in the world?
Well, that affected me in a way that I could like I didn't have the balls basically, and I was like a what do they call it? Like a doormat. Like people just walk over me. I'm a yes man
You,
through and through. Um, I'm always yeah. I'm gonna please people all the time so that no one's mad at me, no one is sad because of me. Um, which I'm only learning now that I need to be selfish, and it's something I needed to learn back then already, and not only now.
your brother,
Mm.
was he brought up the same way?
Well, firstly, there's the gender. That's different. So no, I mean 5 years apart. Um, so no, because he's obviously had a lot more freedom than I had.
And he went to an all boys school as well, right?
Yeah.
To what? To Bosch.
Yes.
Do you think he's similar to all the other kids that went to all boys school?
Um, I actually can't say for sure because I don't think I know him. Um, I don't think I know him. I don't know the part of him that comes out when he's with his friends.
Ah, you don't know the real Boych,
Maybe.
the predator. Oh, okay. All right. And then did you find what part of your life did you find the most difficult?
The most difficult, um, probably this stage, my marriage.
Do you
And
find every part that was the latest the most difficult?
yeah, the latest.
As in, like every time when it's like 5 years ago was the most difficult. 10 years ago, 10 years ago
No,
was the most
no.
difficult.
Mm-mm. No, no. The last 5 years was probably the most difficult because I think there is when that conflict resolution opportunities that I missed in high school with people that you had close relationships with,
Hmm.
where I missed that, it came into play in the last 5 years, right? Remember I told you that when I was in ComServe,
Yeah.
I needed to stand up for myself and I needed to
Hmm.
assert myself. And like that was the first time I actually needed to do that. And I was so scared, but I'm so glad I did. So that was fine. I'm never going to see those people again, right? But now in my marriage, this is someone that I'm close to, that I need to stand my ground on more than just one occasion.
Hmm.
And then I found myself avoiding things because I was trying to avoid conflict because I didn't know how to confront it. And I just felt like I was ill equipped to do that and actually get my way, so to say.
So then yo, what's up?
How's it? How's it, man?
Hey,
You good, my brother?
Ishka, how are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
I'm good.
Can you see
Yeah,
us without the
yeah.
glasses?
I I struggle to see you guys. Maybe I should. Yeah, yeah. But I can see you. I can see that this is you.
You
I
can
can
hear
see
that
that.
this is me. You hope it's me, boy.
Yes. Then I can somewhat connect the voice
Yeah.
with the yeah. But no, not. I'm not blind. Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe not blind.
Yeah, I was saying earlier to just to recap quickly. I was saying to Mishka that I had a few, like I think I had 2 lives. Yeah, 2 lives before just trying to not be a guy. Not trying
Yeah.
to go into this. You say this as a woman, I say that as a guy. You hit and then I want to hit back type of thing. So I had 2 lives like that before. Michigan was on one of them, I think. And then the third one I
Yeah.
had was kind of like a fiery one with I told you about it, but then I
Yeah.
couldn't.
Yeah. I
It
remember.
didn't record. Yeah, so I wanted to actually know, like, it, we hear the the thoughts coming all the time. But I think it's almost like because now we're as guys so programmed to stand up for ourselves and not just keep quiet, we hear it and then we listen and then we respond. We hear it, listen, respond. And I wanted to just find out before we even totally respond, like where does this come from? Because even like most of the stuff that we think about, they like say like let's say B for example. Some of the
Yeah.
stuff that she'll say, it's very easy for us to say, what bullshit is this? And I think for now, for me, it's like it's actually trying to find out like where actually does it come from for one to feel as though those things are true, or those things are the way. So that then it's like then it's a learning curve for the females in our life as well to then say, oh, that's where it comes from.
Yeah.
So yeah. So Mishka was still telling us I don't like to get personal, and I hopefully I won't get too personal, but I went to an old boys' school, and she went to an
Yeah.
old girls' school, high school,
Yeah.
and obviously, yeah, there was big challenges there. I was telling her as well, but like going to an old boys' school, I find now that it hindered me as a guy, because I'm much more comfortable confrontationally with other men because I kind of know what the process is,
Yeah. Yeah.
So I wanted to find out then because I know that a lot of the times, even in high school, confrontations with women, it was very difficult because then
Yeah.
it's like, oh, it's a different ball game. Like you can't just be robust. You can't just say what you want to say and overspeak people. You
Mm.
kind of have to be a bit more, hey, relax, like listen. And it's like, with guys, in the boardroom, you kind of just
Yeah.
back and forth. And, it's like it's a, what's it called? A dick size contest.
Yeah.
Whereas with female, kind of like you kind of have to be a bit different. So yeah, she was basically explaining then how she kind of, grew up a
Okay.
bit and differences
Yeah.
with her family and
I think I can also bring a sort of a balance in this one because I also went to a boarding school, but then it was boys and girls school during the schooling hours, and then after that, meaning after school, then it was boys hostel and then girls hostel as well. So sort of the girls were separated from the boys, and then the boys were separated from the girls. But then during the schooling hours, meaning from 7 o'clock, until 1 o'clock, our high school, the classes ended at 1 o'clock. We started early. We started early, half past six to 7 o'clock, and then at 1 o'clock, 1 o'clock would be done. And then also only had two two subjects per day. You could not do more than two subjects per day. It was one before break and then one after break. At 1 o'clock we are done, and everything that's left after 1 o'clock, it's just studies. So yeah, I've also just from the brief that you're just explaining now, that you just outlaid, yeah, I could yeah, I could sort of connect the dots, and then I also could see the differences, that like how changes would be the minute the girls went to their space and then became comfortable in their space, and how we would react when we are also on our place and just as the guys, and then how women would actually experience that passing through, and then how would also experience passing through their reses when going to church and all that. Yeah.
that's a
Yeah,
good
so like you
balance,
were
yeah.
saying like you were
Yeah.
saying, Lungi, like how you feel that being those 5 years just amongst guys, you obviously now become wired in a certain way. You respond in a certain way. And now you go to university and now you have to face girls and guys. So I think the same kind of happened with us. Well, at least for me in my year, there wasn't really like, I'd say there wasn't any bitchiness, there was no bullying. Um, so even that was like that conflict management was very, very low. And now I've only learned like later on to how to respond to a guy, how to interact with a guy. And I think I don't know if it just comes from like just being at university and then picking up cues there. But I feel, also coming from the girls' school, you don't know when you're supposed to um, hide yourself a little bit, or if you're supposed to just put it all out there on the table. Um, how do you how do you respond to guys? Like, are you supposed to be like this submissive female, Are you supposed to be super like over the top assertive? Like, that I think that's something that you only kind of figure out later on if you weren't very um, active, so to say, with the boys' schools and, knowing guys at the boys' schools. Um, yeah, I don't know if that makes sense.
Sorry, man. I just
Yeah,
apologies,
I can
Mishi.
see you distracted. I was mostly talking to Potso or to no one.
Okay.
Yes.
I
No,
didn't hear
I
that
paid.
though. I didn't hear what you
Yeah.
said. You said that again?
No, I.
No, it's way too long.
No, the last bit. I heard everything else.
No, I was just saying that I think figuring out how you're supposed to be and how you're supposed to interact with a guy, you kind of only
Okay.
learn later on if you weren't one of those girls at school who was actively involved with guys from the boys' schools, because then you would have learned it there.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. And even then, it's very different.
Mm.
Yeah. It's like if you, yeah. If I found even the guys that used to interact with a lot of girls at school, for example, were it's still not like you're not interacting with them the whole day with all your
Mm.
emotions and all your feelings. It's like you then have to then put on a mask and then say, "Whew, okay, now I'm gonna be the hot guy. I'm gonna be the hunk, and then I'm gonna go make all the jokes and be with the girls." And then you spend only
Mm.
2, 3, 4 hours with them, and then you come back after that. Then you can be your actual savage self or your soft self with the rest of the boys for the rest of
Mm.
the month or whatever. And it probably the same with the girls is that you then can you're girly with the girls just like the boys are boy with the boys, and then as soon
Mm.
as they meet up with the guys, then all of a sudden it's the mask on. It's okay, no, yeah, whatever. And then only after that it's like you get exhausted and then you come back to the females. And I think the reason why I think this is very important is because I think that there's exact same things that we take from the childhood and the high school and the junior school and the high school and the varsity is how we then interact like this on social media and throughout life with work and that as
Mm.
well. Is that whenever we're faced with whatever the different races or the different genders, we just go
Mm.
back into that phase of how we're supposed to deal with these people or these kind of people, and then then again we chop and change how we're supposed to be.
Yeah.
It's like when like feminists when they're around other feminists, and all of a sudden it's hate men, and then they go back home and then they're there with their husbands and boyfriends, and then they're just like, hey Jason, what's going on? I'll
Mm.
do everything for you. I'll be submissive. And it's like, who the hell is that?
Yeah. Like
So I
it's
think it goes.
actually like like I don't want to make this about race, but I think um you know at school there was obviously the white girls and the black girls were kind of dominant, right? Although blacks maybe they were in the minority, more of a minority than like coloreds and Indians, but I think just the there's something about those two groups that just felt more present
They
than
were
the
polarized.
others,
Yeah, like they're
right?
so sort of polarized, like in a way that their actions or reactions were not easy to ignore, or whatever. Like things were a little bit more exaggerated between the two, I suppose.
I don't know, like, and I think also because like it's the opposite races, but the economic class that they come from was the same, so to say. The whites and the blacks. They were
Yeah.
like the upper class girls, and then you had the others that were slowly coming in and changing the the numbers around. you know? Um,
The middle
but
class.
just
Maybe you had all the classes. Yeah?
yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. But I'm just saying, like at school, you'll have the black girls and the white girls who both came from upper class, middle to upper
Mm-hmm.
class. So their presence in the school was different to the other girls who were more middle class. right? So
Yeah.
so what I want to say about that dynamic is that if I look at when I was at school and how my mom as a colored woman um, interacted with school and school meetings and school concerts and things like that, she was hardly interested. But you'll find the white moms and some of the black moms are more involved, right? And
Mhm.
then just that, I kind of now, like now that I think about it, now that you brought up this race thing, I kind of took that with me into university and then into the work environment. And then that whole situation when I first started working, where again, I found myself in the hospital, the only colored woman in the hospital and wearing a headscarf as well. Here I was faced again with these two dominant groups, and I needed to fend for myself. And if I hadn't, I would have been chowed. But I
The
went
last time I hear
there
that word.
but I went there with that sort of that same attitude that I witnessed my mom having. You know, like I'm just a little colored woman. I'm just gonna stick it to my corner. I'm not gonna make myself heard, and everything will be fine and problems will go away. But in that space, as a working woman, it didn't. And now I needed to confront something that I didn't know how to confront because I hadn't seen it happening earlier on. And I
A
think
child is a child.
no, but then I had to chow them, right? I had to. Anyway, so I think that like there as a colored woman or mixed race woman, um, I lost out on that in terms of like from a family's perspective and how my mom pushed me in that direction in terms of standing up for yourself and being assertive and making your presence known.
Before we say anything, Porto, quickly, just
Yeah.
from that, do you think that being in the same varsity, do you think that the white woman and the white guys in health sciences felt the same way that you felt? Because they were then the minority.
Are you saying what
I
the
don't think
sorry the
so.
oh
In health sciences, they were also part of the minority. There was a lot more. There's a lot more black people and well, non-white people
Mm.
in medicine than well, medicine and health sciences than anyone else. So, and also then there will be a lot more graduates and then a lot more first years that are non-white than there are
Mm.
white. So, do you
But I
think that
think the,
they
the
felt
the
that?
difference there is that you don't need to be you don't need to identify with the group at university. Where school,
Yeah,
there's more
yeah. You still
there's
have to identify as with the group. So,
no, but
regardless, like say again,
but like at UCT, I mean you can go through medicine and not have any friends.
it's not advisable.
There's I guess, but there's no pressure and there's no expectation of you to do like group work and group projects and do an oral in front of the class and things like that. Like I feel like there's so even if you were the minority, like I don't know.
Yeah, it's interesting that you said that because, like, when you were saying it, I was legit thinking about all the other non-white students going through the exact same thing that I
Mm,
would have gone through when I was in high school, because then I was the minority racially, let's say, because obviously I couldn't be the minority male-wise,
mm,
which then the females that were teaching at my school would have probably gone through because then they were the minority. So it's almost like it's depending on
mm,
whatever minority that you're in, you will always feel as though that you're always left out. And probably why then everyone always kind of looks for, like as soon as you put in a situation, you look for someone that can connect with you. It's going to be racially first or sexually, I mean, racially first or
mm,
gender first. And after that, it's going to be, okay, well, let me go to a big person first or a small person first. Or maybe a nationality first. Maybe go to the South
mm.
Africans first and not Indians or whatever it is. It's like you wanna go to your groups first. And which is why groups are actually matter because at least you have something in common with someone else.
Mm. Yeah, I mean
Natural. Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
one of Maslow's steps, isn't it? Like that sense of belonging. So you can't
Mm.
dismiss that. I mean, naturally you are going to
Yeah.
gravitate
Yeah.
towards someone that's or
Yeah.
group
You
that you
know,
can identify with.
yeah. Actually,
Yeah.
mentioning the Maslow's hierarchy. I actually don't think it's. I think it can be both. It can actually be a matter of belonging. But then remember that the belonging is above, higher in the pyramid. It's much higher. I think it's basic. It's much more basic in meaning that it's at the bottom of everything. It's mainly about survival. Before we even get to the belonging stage, it's mainly about survival. That when you come
Mm.
into a place where you don't know anyone, and then I mean we are social people. We survive in groups, whether we like it or we don't. We survive in
Yeah.
groups, and then so before it even gets to belonging, it's more about survival. Okay, who can I survive with? Because if I come into this space, I don't know anyone. I don't know
Mm.
anyone, and then I cannot be understood by anyone. Like for example, let's say I decide to move and then go to work in England. The
Mm.
first things that I'm gonna start when I get there, to in order for me to survive, I will have to start by looking at people who share, for example, who share something. It can be something in common with me. It can be, let's say, for example, a skin color or a language, or maybe we come from a nationality. And I also believe that, for example, it regardless of race, if for example there's a white African or South African that moves to England, and then I also then move to England, and then when we get there, there isn't anyone that shares as much as we don't, as much as the culture that we share with white South Africans is not that, linked. But then at least when we get there, there will be someone who knows what braai is, and then there will be someone who knows. So it's likely that our differences, as much as we would share and manifest those differences in our own home country, but
Mm.
then when we get there, we are likely to set aside those differences for the sake of survival, not necessarily for the
Mm.
sake of, but then for the sake of survival. And then once we now are comfortable with surviving, and then now we come to belonging. Now we can now move to belonging, and then on the belonging side, I'm saying this because when I first came to vet, also we also, like when I first came to vet, the lady that was my first friend was actually a Chinese woman, and then I was a black guy. And then what we shared in common was that the subjects that we did, and it was, in fact, besides the subject that we did, when we were registering, she was in front of me. She was in front of me on the queue for registration, and then we went back home. And then when we got back, we started class. She was the only person that I knew, that I saw from the day before. And then so we sort of shared something in common because we shared a queue together, and then we talked while we were there. And then there was even a time whereby I had to ask her to sort of stand in the queue for me, or to notify other people that I'm behind her. And then I also did the same for her when she went to the bathroom. So by the time we started the class, we already understood each other from that point, that okay, for survival we actually need to help each other. She needed to tell me which classes we needed to remind each other, because there wasn't any Google at the time. We used to use the school the varsity map, that you actually have to mark all the places that you were. So I was kind of good, a little bit good with the maps, and then she was also good in other things. But then our friendship lasted like a month, and then after that, it's not like we fought, but then after that, she started associating with other Chinese people, and I also
Mm.
started associating with other black people. And then I
Mm.
think that where the belonging comes, because now over and above survival, we now both survive, but then I needed to
Yeah.
belong now. Meaning that I
Mm.
needed my group, and then she needed her group. We did not fight or anything, and then the links were still there because she knew my group, and then we understood each other from that point. So
Mm.
what you are saying actually, it's actually a fascinating way of life. It's something that it's a fascinating a phenomenon of life, because it's something that we should just maybe recognize, not, or maybe try to fight sometimes where it actually hinders our progress. But yeah, it's an interesting observation, I suppose.
Was she black?
No, she was
She's
Chinese. She was
Chinese. And she's
I'm
Indian.
joking.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Anyway, okay, yeah, yeah, that's true. I mean, look, I probably all went through the same stuff. You know, that
yeah,
first day you go to school, high school, or
yeah.
you always associate with the
Mm.
person that's closest or
Yes,
similar to you. And
Or they
then
came from
yes,
as
your
time
primary
goes,
school, and then as the year goes on,
yes.
you both find new friends, and
And then you
yeah,
cut ties.
yeah,
yeah,
not even cut ties. Yeah, it's there. It's there about like if
yeah.
you decide that you're gonna come back and get into like a slump, then you know that, oh, I remember you and you're still there, and then you can
Mm.
grow back. So again, it's probably a survival thing, which is probably why again, like why these movements and these gender and these racial things, come about where women just say, oh, it's another woman, so I'll go there. Oh, woman is being
Mm.
um, something's happening wrong to a woman. I need to stand up for it. Then you stand up for it, and then
Yeah,
you forget that actually you're more different than you are the same. And
yeah,
as soon
Mm.
as you then stand up for it, and then you grow and you grow and you grow, you realize that, oh, actually, this is for big women. Then you're like, oh, I'm actually not big, skinny, and then you have to
yeah,
now, go back to other skinny women or whatever it is. But
yeah,
anyway, so sorry to sidetrack you there.
yeah.
Um, yeah. So what issues do you face, Mishi, as a woman? Because like I said again, it was difficult for me to understand, man. Like I said, even in varsity, it was just it's very difficult, and I think it still is now because there's still that like just get on with it type of thing. But then
Mm.
there's that edge that I always have to obviously keep learning to say no, you just can't just get on with it. So yeah,
Yeah, I think it's really difficult because um I think for me at this point, um I'm sort of learning where I need to be a nurturer and where I need to not be one, you know. So now, you form different kinds of relationships, but just as we were talking about now, every I think every kind of partnership or any kind of relationship has its purpose, and figuring out when that purpose comes to an end or needs to pause for a little bit. So now I have been married for 5 years. I've got two kids. I've been nurturing basically 24/7 for the last 5 years. And now that's all I want to do. But I need to sort of figure out, okay, this relationship doesn't need nurturing. It's just going to sit here and that's all it's going to be. And I need to learn how to move on from that. So I think that's a big thing now, where where, at least for me, you're looking for this security in a place where you're not going to find it. And I'm trying to nurture it to make it give me that security, but it's not happening. Does that make sense?
yeah,
Whereas
yeah.
I think guys have a better way. For some reason, I feel that guys are able to spot those things easily. Because women, that we want to nurture, we want to fix things, we want it to bloom, right? Everything we touch
Yeah.
must bloom and become all nice and pretty. Whereas guys, you just drop something if it doesn't serve that purpose anymore. You're like, okay, I can move on. So I think
Yeah,
for
yeah.
me, at this point, that's something I'm kind of struggling with, but slowly figuring out. Um,
So it's like so you're nurturing something so that you hope that it nurtures you in the long run,
yeah,
or
yeah,
by
something like
actually
that.
nurturing it. Yeah, but then by actually nurturing it, you're hindering it from learning to nurture you. So when it doesn't do that, then you're kind of like, oh, what's going on?
Mm. Yeah, and
Yeah,
and and also because this has been my identity, like my sole identity has been nurturer for the past 5 years. I'm trying to figure out what else can I be.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
need to, and it's hard. Like I always say,
Yeah.
like the last 5 years has been like, if people ask me now, like, what do you like? And I'm like, I have no idea. I'm actually trying to discover all of that
Yeah.
all over again because I have absolutely no idea. And I think that's just really hard. And I don't think women have that in them enough, or as guys, like, ugh, he did this, and if he comes back, then I'll talk to him, but otherwise I'll move on. I'm fine without him. But girls are going to be like, oh, no, what did I do? No, she did this to me, and why did this happen? Or he did this to me, and I need to know why. I need to get closure. um and yeah, so that's like one big challenge that I'm having at the moment. The others is still like me being assertive and projecting my voice loud enough if someone cuts the queue in front of me, things like that.
Do you think that has come with age as well? Do you think like when you were in your 20s, you didn't really give a shit about this because the guys that are also in their 20s kind of just it was kind of almost attractive for you to be indecisive back then because then us guys would offer you everything because we're just trying to get you to want whatever we're offering. And now as you've gotten older, it's like now you have less people that are trying to find out what you want firstly, and then secondly you have a lot less guys that are coming to you that are going to be patient enough for that. It's like, what do you want? When do you want it? I don't have time for you. I can go back to a 20-year-old Mishka and ask her the same thing, and then it's attractive then when it's 20.
Mm. I don't think so. Hey, I think I don't I don't think I knew what I wanted when I was like 20. And I don't think um yeah, no, I don't think what you're
Yeah, but then
saying
did you,
is
you
what
didn't have
applied to me.
To me, it sounds like Mishka is having nice life problems.
What?
because because I have to be, yeah, it sounds like Mishka is having nice life problems to me because it actually what it actually means is that actually means that she already has found her purpose, but then she wants more to her purpose. Because as she says, for example, that she has been nurturing for the past 5 years, and then she feels like she needs more, like there needs to be more than that. But I'm not gonna say I'm not gonna say what she's going through is what others are dying to have. But and then coming to the assertive part, to the assertive part. I think what I would say on that is that uh, if I was a woman, or maybe in Mishka's position, I would first check what gets me more results first. In fact, I would actually choose to be much more result oriented, and then not focus on being too loud or being too soft, or just focus on what gets things done for me. What is it that makes me win at the end? And then
Yeah,
if
which is what
that
I'm trying
because
to figure out
yeah
because
yeah
like I was saying, like I didn't get that opportunity in high school and in university, and then I was faced with it when I started working. And
yeah
then I
you
was
got
already
you got
married. I
away
was
from it.
married for 5 years, and now I find myself a full-blown adult with two kids dependent on me, and I still need to figure out what gives me results. Like I need to figure out how do I behave in order to get
you are a
results.
child who has got children. Okay. No, interesting. It's
Do
very,
you,
very
do, you- do you
interesting.
guys think it's more beneficial to be assertive than to not be assertive?
Yeah, definitely.
Why,
So
why,
you
why,
like
why, why? Yeah, why?
Okay, so I will no one record this, okay? um so like
this is a recording.
I've been exploring like obviously the dating world, and I think in terms of that, I've become more assertive. And because I've been able to be like, okay, I need this, this, and this from you. If you can give it to me, cool. If you can't, don't waste my time, you know? So that way I've been able to get straight to the point, and there I can get results, right? So in terms of that, I think being assertive has definitely helped me. But then also, as a woman, not only being that soft, nurturing, motherly type, but also being able to stand up for your kids and being assertive with them when you need to be is definitely an advantage. I think more than being passive and quiet. Coming from someone who is naturally quiet, I found that
Yeah,
growing in this
Mm,
way has
interesting. Yeah.
definitely
Mm.
opened a lot more doors for me.
fair enough. What about you, Pot?
Yeah, yeah, no, I think from what she's saying, I think I can make sense of what she's saying, and it's very interesting. Uh, but I think that I personally think that she's sort of okay. Yeah, you should not hate me for this, Mishka. But I think what she's normally in a traditional setup, um, the qualities that she already has now are enough for her to survive. She does not need to be assertive. But then, because of the way that the world has changed, in fact, a lot of women might actually need that quality of being assertive and being a little bit pushy at times, and a little bit, yeah, because for the most part, they're going to have to be the ones who look after kids when the fathers are away. And then in a traditional setup, the fathers would normally be the ones that are the disciplinarians, the ones that bring that quality in the relation. Because because uh, because because in a traditional setup, as a mother, you don't want to confuse, like, sort of to dilute or to confuse that mothering, what you call, I don't know what to call it, that mothering purpose or nature in you, in such a way that it should always be easy for the children to run to you, and then also on the father's side, it actually makes it like, when they are the ones, as we know, they are the ones who are supposed to be disciplinarian. So from what I'm getting on her statements, is that the world has now changed, sort of morphed into a society whereby both parties need to have the qualities of both, like both genders need to have the qualities of both genders, because indeed, if you are not assertive at work, you are likely not to get that raise, and then you are also are likely to be walked over, and then you are likely to be, all those things. And then I think I kind of empathize with her on that regard, because I also cannot change the fact that the world is what it is today, and then she needs those qualities that she has mentioned. And maybe the trick again might be in managing now, after she improves in having those qualities of assertiveness, of being a little bit pushy, and then being a little bit more demanding, and all that. She's now going to be faced with the task of knowing when to use them, which is also what we see that is actually affecting our relationships, is that we send for the women are sent to go and collect these qualities that are going to make them great CEOs, and then they don't know that after they acquire them, and then they spend also more time at work, and then from there at work, when they get home now, they get a
They
little
can't
bit
switch it off.
confused. Yeah, they can't switch it off. Now they become assertive to their husbands. Become assertive to too assertive, too pushed to their husband, and then too pushed to their kids. And then it becomes a problem there. I think after you acquire all these qualities that you want, which I'm sure you will, but then the next task, the next big task will be how to switch them off when you're at home, or how to switch them on when you're at work, and then when to switch them on, because that also must be done efficiently and effectively. And then yeah, because it can be those are things that can actually be deal breakers, like the great skills, but then that can be great deal breakers.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. Like, I'm not against the whole traditional role of a woman.
Yeah.
I just feel like at this point in time, there needs to be a marriage between the modern wife slash woman and the traditional one.
Yeah.
Um, and when I mention like being assertive, I don't mean like CEO quality kind of things, stand up in front of a boardroom full of men. I mean simple things like, my love, this is how I'm feeling. This is what you did, and this is how it made me feel, and
Mm.
this is how I want to handle it. Like, that's just talking about your feelings. And I think
Yeah.
if I didn't see, my mom doing that, and I didn't get that opportunity in relationships to explore how do I manage my own feelings and how do I bring it up. But I'm doing it now, and now I can teach it to my kids, right? Which is not necessarily a bad quality. You want a kid to be able to say, "This is how I'm feeling, and I need you to respect my feelings," and then move on. You know, like that's what I'm talking about when I mean assertive. I don't mean like wearing the
Yeah.
pants and becoming the man. I
Mm.
just feel that women need to be more confident within themselves and say what they're feeling and what they're thinking, and just be okay with that.
Okay. Growing up, did you see your dad kind of putting his masculinity guard down, or did you see um, your? I don't know if I'm framing this question right, but then I think you can also assist me there, Lou. Did you see growing up? Did you see maybe your dad sort of putting his masculinity, or his maybe become more like your mother. Let me put it that way.
No, I think there was no, she had her role and he had his.
So it
Um,
could be that. Oh, so okay. So it could be that maybe your mother didn't need to be assertive because there was someone who could actually do that job for you. She could just tell the husband, you know what, I don't like this. Go to tell this. Maybe tell the kids this, and then from there, then the father, for example, could sort of quickly absorb that role. Because I'm trying to understand whether we are. I came with the hypothesis that this could be that the time that we live in are the times where you the like the world has changed into a point whereby you actually have to learn these skills because they are now necessary for you. And then it could be that maybe even before they were not so necessary because there was a designated guy or a designated lady to be the one carrying out that role. Um,
I don't know. I think there's a lot of, I think, whatever works for that family. Like my parents kind of shared that
yeah,
responsibility of discipline and
yeah,
things like that. So,
okay,
when my mom would do her bit, and if that didn't work, then my dad would step in.
okay,
Um, it wasn't, yeah, and they were fairly easy with communication with each other, and
yeah,
yeah. I just
Yeah.
feel that women today, and I am guilty of this as well. We expect guys to know what we're thinking and what we're feeling, And we get mad when we need to say it out loud, which I think is
Why do
unfair.
you think that is? Why do you think that is?
I don't know. I have no idea.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
that's why I'm saying, like, for a woman to be confident to say what she's thinking and what she's feeling, I think is a huge advantage for her. And to be confident in it and not say it like you're not going to burden this guy with how you're feeling, or oh, this guy's going to think I'm a loser, or I'm too fragile, I'm too sensitive. You know, yeah.
Do you think it's like it's either like it's a combination of that woman never had to play that role, they never had to be assertive, they never had to make the first move, you never had to tell a guy that you want them. It was always the other way around. That guys had to get a bit more ballsy and ballsy, and now it's
Mm,
like guys are so robust and assertive with things that even if as a woman you tell them you'll never get on the level that a guy would be as assertive, right? Do you think it's that combination of those things?
I don't know. I don't know because this I honestly don't know because these obviously there's the pressure on women to become more masculine, so to say, and then the pressure on
Yeah,
guys
and
to
it's not
become more soft. And
not even. I don't even think it's the other way around as well. I think it's like I think that there's lots more pressure for females to be a bit more robust and manly, whereas
mm,
guys don't have to have that pressure to be more feminine because they're
yeah,
not going to be attracted to females when they're feminine.
yeah. But I think also just the way things are going in the world, like women are entering what was for a long time the man's world. The working world was the man's world. And now, because you're entering their playing field, you're gonna have to play like them. And that's where that pressure comes from because men aren't leaving their playing field, they're staying there. And you coming in and you
Yeah,
trying to fit in, so you have to become like them.
yeah. But that's
Which
yeah.
I
So
think
so
which I
the,
think then becomes an issue because you either leaving your traditional role as a woman or you have to marry the two. And then it comes
yeah.
what Porto mentioned about knowing when to switch it off and when to switch it on becomes an issue because you now suddenly hit like an identity crisis, which should be
Yeah.
happening earlier in life once again, but it's happening later because you only get into the world of work when you're an adult.
It's happening when all the
Yeah.
muscles have stiffened up. So, so, so it's like you're likely to break instead because the muscles
Yeah.
have stiffened up when this change, when you are required to actually have this change. But then I think that as I agree with you that maybe things would have been different if our work world was designed in such a way that it quickly absorbs women at an early age or at an earlier age.
Well, that's what it was, isn't it? When they
Mm,
had like nursing and teaching was for women,
yeah.
and the
Yeah.
other things were for guys, right? And I think,
Yes.
and coming back to the school thing, I went to a girls' school. I could have loved science, but there was no guys to compete with. There was no male brain to compete with. There was no male mathematical brains and abilities to compete with. Now, I want to become an engineer, and now only at 18, 19, 20, now you need to learn how to play amongst the boys.
Mm.
But you've been doing it, you just didn't have that component. And I think that's why we're struggling at that point in our life because it hasn't been introduced to you earlier when you are trying to figure out who you are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, yeah, it's good points. Again, like I said, going back a bit, that yeah, women. It's almost like these days, women are kind of a bit more forced into trying to be a bit more robust and a bit more masculine because because they're just generally more likely to then adapt. Whereas guys that don't want to do nothing or change will never change,
Mm,
right? Like they'll never do things that you don't want them to do. I know that myself. Guys that are stubborn will never do anything. Like if you
mm,
want a guy to apologize or for a guy to start to think differently, or you really, really have to like yeah, you have to
Well,
shout
you,
over
you
them to get that.
Yeah, you have to convince them of the benefits because at the bottom of everything, a man is a very, very selfish creature. So you would
Yeah,
actually have
yeah,
to convince him that that will make him win. And then
yeah,
if you can't convince him that that will make him win, then there's really nothing for him. Then I mean,
yeah.
you can
Okay.
sort of become, yeah,
Yeah, so I think then that's pretty much kind of where this sticky ground comes in, where then
yeah,
females are just much more likely to adapt and to make everything nice for everyone. Everyone can benefit. Where the guys are pretty much like, nope, if I'm not going to win here, then I don't care who's winning or who's losing. It's got nothing to do with me. Like that's the way it's gonna be. And I think that's like the birthplace of all this the arguments and stuff and the fights and the relationship stuff as well. It gets to that point where the females just don't understand why is this guy so stubborn, and the guy's like, why are you still asking me? So that's why I'm trying to get to that point of why is there such a fight between women trying to fight guys in order to, like, the guy needs to do this. And the guy's like, I will never do that. Like, get that into your mind. And then the woman's like, but I don't understand. Like, why can't you be like that? And it's always like a
yeah,
constant headbutt, a constant
yeah,
fight. Like I said again,
yeah, yeah,
yeah, and like I said again, like going to an old boys' school, like I know, like the guys that I was always around every single day, like including myself, as hard as anything. Like there's no, and it comes across as being, let's say, cocky, assertive, arrogant, narcissistic. But guess what? Guys still don't care. Like it's okay, whatever. Like it's not, we're not going to change. Like that's just the way it's going to be. And that's because that's also where the birthplace of pride comes in. And that's where
mm,
the birthplace of aggression comes in. That's where the birthplace of masculinity comes in. But then it's also like we don't know where the extremes are. So we just fucking push it, and then wherever the extreme is, then those guys then kind of fall off. But then the guys that are closest there, they're more attractive to the females. And it's like, well, then we're just gonna push them. That
yeah,
assertiveness that females then want is exactly where we're gonna push to. And if you're gonna fall off,
yeah,
then yeah, you rather would have tried. And then the issue then comes in when you have again live conversations and relationships where then you then come across with a female. Like it's hard enough with the guys in the same class trying to understand how robust you are, right? And they kind of figured, you know what, like I'm not gonna say anything to this guy. Like that's just the way it is. He's gonna keep firing and no way, like I will never get past it. And then how much more being from a girls' school with females? It's like it's completely different. And now that those females are more attracted to, let's say, the guys that are a bit more robust. And of course, then it's going to be a clash. And then it
yeah,
translates to then, movements, and it translates to feminism and the GBV things, where the guys say, look, if you try to touch me, I'll knock anyone's head off. And the females go, no, well, we're fragile. How can you do that? Don't hit women. Don't do that. Don't do this. And then the guys in the middle say, "Oh, okay, we're fine. We understand that. We're not trying to be violent." But then the extreme guys are just thinking, "I'll knock your head off too." And that's where the disconnect comes in. That's where you find them even starting these conversations from totally different endpoints, and we don't even know where the connection is.
mm.
So, yeah.
No, that is true. That is exactly true.
I feel like people
Yeah.
should just be who they are. Like just go with your gut feeling. If your gut tells you that you're going to be assertive, then you're going to be assertive.
Mm.
Yeah, yeah,
But
but
Yeah.
unfortunately, that would be in the ideal world. But I think, yeah, I think what you're saying, I don't know if is that is that because these guys is that because guys are nurtured in a certain way
I
Yeah.
by the
don't think.
same mother that nurtures the sister in a different way?
No, not that type. I don't. I think it's a combination of things. I think it's just like it's a
Not one.
combination of
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. Like I
Because
like for
you
me.
can get a nice guy, you can get a very nice guy, but he can also be he's able to be like an ass or a jerk.
Yeah, because like you can get a nice woman and she's able to to be an ass or a jerk if you break up with her. It's kind of the same or similar thing, and I think that a lot of the
But
time,
where does that come from? Like, is it
I
for
would
think.
me,
I
that
I
be
think.
think
I think.
societal norms then, or
Yeah.
she's
No, I
doing it
think.
because she's
Yeah.
expecting she's
I.
expected to do that because of what the movies and the series tell us, or because it's
I.
actually part of her?
I actually think, Mishka. I think you probably looking for one answer in something that actually has many factors in it. Because, for example, as I said, I think I mentioned that as people, we are societal creatures at the end of the day. And then over and above being societal creatures, and then you've got men again who are also ruled by a lot of things, by biology, by politics, by the people around them, by there's just a lot that goes into having a person, and then into having a person behave in a certain way. It's not just one thing. And then if we look for, if we are likely to actually lose it if we actually always look for one, in the same way that we have actually argued the gender pay gap issue, that a lot of people were just looking, a lot of politicians, they were just looking at one guy. Okay, this is gender, male, female, male earns more, female earns less, and then that means we should sort that one out. You are likely to also fall off the cliff if we do that, because it's not just one thing that determines the salary of males and females. There's just a lot of things that go in there. Now, going back to the issue of whether it's nurturing or nurturing, again, going back to the society, it is natural that it is natural that human beings are are societal creatures. Like they're creatures that live in communities, and then them living in communities, they will always have norms. They will always have certain norms. They will have rules. They will have social contracts that, okay, this you can do, you can kill, you can't kill, this is what's going to happen if you don't kill. So there's punishment and reward as well. There's the issue of punishment and reward as well. And then you go to the biology. Even men themselves, among themselves, there are men who have got much more testosterone than others, and then you've got men who are much bigger than others, men who are more aggressive than others. And then so now, like with all those factors being put together, and again, now you have education. You have men who are more educated than others. They go to varsity and then they learn new whatever. And then over and above that, you've got also men who would be much more willing to try new things than others. And then so there's just too many things that are happening. And then we cannot, for example, single out one thing and say that this is the reason why things are this way. You see, so now, going back to and then even in the same way women respond, they are also, whatever that applies on the men also applies on the women on the other side. Because you can say, for okay, uh, you can ask many guys, for example, what worked for them in terms when dealing with the women. Most guys, they will tell you that, no, I was soft, I was at varsity, I was soft, I was a nice guy, and I thought this was gonna make me win. But then instead, it made me lose. And then I saw the losers winning in front of me, the guys that I considered winning in front of me. And then they're like, why? then they fail to understand one thing, that at the bottom of everything we are animals, and then even with women, they're attracted to the things that any animals that live communally are attracted to. A stubborn man, as stubborn man, as rigid as he is, but then he's a necessity for a woman who wants to protect who wants a man to protect her territory. So he's likely to fight off enemies than to allow them or to negotiate with enemies. So just by observing how animals do that, even in the animals, for example, they will fight until the stubborn one wins, or until the one gives in and then loses the territory. So this thing is actually, it's also, I think, as I said before, we are communal creatures, and then we are also animals, and then we are subjected to so many factors that actually lead to us making decisions the way that we make them, and also making women do select us in the way that they select them. There's this also, again, this study. I also don't know how the verification of it, that the babies, that there's many babies in the community, but then a lot of those babies are actually fathered by a very, very few select men, very, very few men that actually father that. It's about 16% of the men. Again, these are stats that I took from whoever wrote that. They're not maybe to be, but then I'm sure you can get the idea that a lot of babies are actually fathered by a very, very few select men. And then the question is that now, what is it that these few men what qualities do these few men have that the rest don't have, that the rest of the group don't have? And then you'll actually find a concentration of these things, that you find that they are highly disagreeable, and then they're also highly stubborn, and then they're over and above highly stubborn. They've got high testosterone. They've got all those things which actually a female monkey would be attracted to in a male monkey, or a female mammal. Another will actually be attracted to in a male mammal. So I think when such things come, there also comes a point whereby our minds stop, and then we sort of function from an animalistic point, from an animalistic state, in the same way that how guys get quickies in the club, or yeah, you just get to a point whereby what you call your body will actually, the animal in you will actually be stronger than the person in you.
Yeah, that's a good point that you made there with this with the uh, genetic part of it. I think that a lot of it. I think again, a lot of it has to do with it, which is what people that say that life kind of nurtures you and shapes you into who you are. It's almost it's like, yeah, it's true. Obviously, that's how we're very different. But then you can't ignore the biological wants and needs, which makes it different, like the hormones and all of that stuff. There's a massive what do you call it? Massive part they play. As much as society does play, of course, but genetically it plays a big role. So what you mentioned there as well, this whole like the fact that you're more attractive to certain females or certain males because of their testosterone level, because of their weight to hip ratio. You're more attracted to guys that are a bit more robust, or a bit more, with their shoulder chest ratio, and things like that. Tall, dark, handsome men. There's a reason, those things are attractive, and that is also very much biological, which is also determined by the social. So a lot of the things and the nice thing about being a human is that you can combine all of those. You can combine the fact that you might know a guy, you might see them and say, oh, he looks nice, and then he starts talking, and you think, oh, nah, he's not nice. Then you
Yeah.
think, what's the reason behind that? And it could be, again, like you said, biological, in the sense that you want someone that's going to at least be robust enough, that's also going to be able to handle himself, what you call it, verbally with other people, so that he doesn't crumble. So he doesn't have to win everything, but at least he mustn't lose everything,
Yes.
or lose anything. And at least then with that,
Yes.
you will then be attractive to that, because that means that then your offspring will then have a better chance to kind of to keep carrying on. It's like the same thing that you mentioned with animals now. Like you don't always have to be the lion that wins every fight. You don't have to always to be the guy that's going to
Yeah.
knock out everyone. But at
Yeah.
least like stand up for me. Like even if you get knocked out, it's like, okay, yeah, but my man did it and he tried to do something. And
Yeah.
and then you find that might be attractive to women. And then when women be a bit more, when they become assertive, right? Then that's
Yeah.
where then the issues come in, because then it's like, okay, well then what role are you playing? Because now we're not kind of sure. Are you going to then punch out every guy? Are you then going to kind of be robust and try to stand up for me? What does that
Yeah.
mean for me? Because then if I was the same, would I then be attractive to you? If I was less, was more feminine, or if I didn't want to, get into arguments or fights like that. So that's also a part of the issue, is that the actual,
Yeah.
as much as we can chop and change how we are, it's like, well, what are we attracted to? So
Exactly.
whatever we're attracted to, the other person's going to try to be that thing that you're attracted. It's like, guys are not going to be out there trying to work and live life if they don't think that women are going to
Yeah.
try to want them. And the same with women. It's like,
Yeah.
do you think you wear makeup just because of other women? It's like, of course not. Who are you trying to be beautiful for? To yourself? You think you're going to kiss yourself and have kids with yourself? Of course not. You're trying to be as attractive as possible to the next species.
Yeah,
So
it's the need to compete, which is just as part of a human being, and it's something that women should actually not be ashamed of. And then that now that you actually mentioned that one of the point, that point about makeup, yeah, you remind me of the fact that yes, they always try to fight to fight that off, but then I mean with really no chance to win, because the makeup, if you can check the makeup, like the details of the makeup, they are there to actually sort of to actually make the person look younger than they are. Because what do they do? For example, they hide wrinkles. They would hide wrinkles, and then they would, for example, redden the lips, and then they would redden the cheeks, which are things that would actually find the characteristics that signal fertility in young women. That would, I mean, look at the way the bras, for example, the way the bras are. It's not something that is wrong. I'm not saying that they shouldn't do that. I'm just saying that if it helps them win, let them do it, but then let them embrace it and not try to cheat men into, like, to trick men into into accepting that they do it for themselves. I mean, we have seen a lot of guys, actually, if you have actually dealt with women, you have seen how women look when they are alone at their place, or how their places look when they are alone. It's really nothing. so, so so we see these things. Yeah.
there's always an intergroup fight and an intra-group fight as well, all the time.
Exactly.
You get the women that are at the top of the food chain that don't need to use makeup anymore. Say, oh, you know
Yeah.
what, I look beautiful, natural. And then the
Yeah.
women that need to fight, that are using makeup, now think, oh, you know what, actually makeup might not. Now that's the new trend. We have to use that because
Yeah.
she's the one that's getting everyone. So
Yeah.
we need to use less of this. But then as soon as they use less makeup, then they don't get anyone. Then they have to go back to using the makeup as well. So it's
Using more.
always a
Yeah.
trick trying to find out. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's the same with the guys. It's like we go to gym, and then if you get too big, then the guy doesn't get any girls. And then they go,
Yeah.
oh, okay, perhaps then it's the middle ground. Then let's try to get ripped. And you get ripped,
Yeah.
and then you go, oh, getting the girls, yeah. So now getting ripped is the way to get the girls,
Yeah.
and then
And now
maybe
they're
then too
saying the
many guys
dad
are
bod
getting
is
ripped.
better.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Then
Yeah.
getting ripped is now it's too common. Now we need something different. Oh, I like
Yes.
guys like this and that, and those guys start winning. So that's
Yes.
a very Yeah, keep it
Yes.
going.
And the sad part now that you mentioned part, the
You
sad part
guys.
is that now there has been a great equalizer for the guys. Money has actually ruined a lot of things because the money has sort of become a great equalizer for the guy in such a way that uh, guys sort of notice that, oh, okay, if you have this, if you've got this, if you've got money, for example, uh,
It
six pack
bypasses
will,
a lot of things.
yeah, you can bypass a lot of things. So it's a great equalizer. You can look like a monkey, and then you can still win if you've got that. Wow. So now,
Which is what women do with sex and their bodies as well. Like if you got
exactly,
ass and tip, I can just bypass a lot of stuff. I don't have to be
exactly,
intellectual. I don't have to be able to
exactly.
hold a conversation.
Exactly. So now you get to the point whereby even the guys will be like, oh, okay, then I just forget everything and then work on this. And then shame on you if you don't win it. If you don't win at that, because because then it's gonna be a problem. It's gonna be a problem. But then I think yeah, money has become a great equalizer for the guys, and then because it is something, because at the end of the day, I mean, it's still a basic economics game. What they demand and then what we have to offer, and then what we demand and then what they have to offer, and then
Do
and
you
then they, yeah.
do you think that that's do you think that then women chase money because it's a great equalizer for people through guys, which is why
No,
they ask men for money all the time.
I actually think that the one thing that actually women attracts women more than anything, it's actually power. So money gives you access to power. So you get
Mhm.
guys who actually use money poorly and then lose that access to power, because I mean it's like bargaining chips. If you've got money, then you're giving it away to every woman that you meet on the streets, and then you are likely not to win in life, because even the number of gold diggers that you will have will decline year by year, because they know that money is a finite resource. It's gonna end someday, and the more you lose. So what actually attracts them, what actually keeps them, it's the fumes, it's the smell of money, it's this fumes, and then the life that you can create around yourself of comfort, and then that's what actually attracts them. So if you have got money is power, but then you have to use that power, know how to use that power, how to control it, how to keep it, how to multiply it, and then how to use it for your benefit. So it's a resource that they want, and then if they could get it without having to be part of you, like, I mean, for example, if you are an ugly guy, and then they could get that, let's say they could get that, and then you could just maybe dish it out to them, and then they can get it and then leave, then it's fine. It's a win for them, it's a loss for you. But then now, if you are a guy and then you don't want to give this money, but then you want to keep it, and then you want them to see that you actually have this power, then that works like a magnet now. Because now, whatever life, whatever yacht you buy or mansion you buy, they will want to occupy that. You see, so so I think I can
But
go
so
on to
will your
say that,
friends.
yeah,
So will the other
yeah,
guys. So perhaps it's not just for women; it's for everyone.
yes,
It's like yeah, like you'll have more friends all of a sudden now that you
exactly,
have money or you have access to it.
exactly. Because remember that even women, then they themselves. The reason why I said it's power, even women themselves, they get more attracted to the guy who commands more power to other men, like to other men. For example, I'll make an example. You could be broke. Let's say you are broke, but then when you,
Or not seize power.
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah,
so not
but yeah,
necessarily
but
have it, but not be bottom of the food chain. Like you might not have a voice, but don't let someone else take your voice.
exactly. So you get to the point. Let's say, yeah, as you say, let's say you're not that rich or you're not that poor. You're just maybe somewhere in the middle. But then when you enter a room, and a room full of other men, the level of respect that other men give you in that room will actually determine the kind of woman that you will get in that room.
Mm.
So you're likely
I
to get
agree.
the top. You are likely to get the cream of the. You are likely to get the top.
Well,
Even the guys that are there that are above, that maybe even above you, the respect that they give you will actually earn you more points on women than even on the guys. So that's why I always think that in order for you to actually be, if you really want to be a ladies' man, you better be a man's man first.
I need to learn that. That's a good quote.
Yeah.
Nishi, what do you want
I
to
have to say that I
add?
think I don't know any woman who go for guys with money or power.
Mm.
Um, yeah. So I don't actually, I
But
can't really like comment on that. But
do you think? Do you
yeah,
think? Okay, so what I said again with Porto is that like perhaps it's not the fact that you have to have it, you have to have power, but it's more to say that you're not going to lose it. So you
Yeah.
won't be with
Yeah.
someone that's fragile, right? Or you won't be with someone that's going to lose respect, right? They might not command it from everyone else, but they can still
Yeah.
stand their ground. So even the ability to make money, not necessarily to have it, or the ability to
no,
have power, not necessarily to have it.
I don't think that's been a quality amongst the women I know. Um, I think with the woman that I know, it's been the man's ability to be compassionate and um, empathetic and stuff like that. Like again, looking for that more softer, feminine qualities in him rather than the masculinity.
Because the guy stay at
What?
home and take care of the kids.
No, but it matters to the woman I know how he's gonna treat her. It doesn't matter what he's like in a room full of guys. What's
Yeah.
important to us is how is he gonna
Yeah.
treat me when we're alone?
Okay, Mishka, is this what they say, or is this the guys that they deal with? I mean, like the same women that you're talking about. Do they have these guys, or is this the guy? Is this the type of guys that they say they want?
No, I can see it. It's people they're married to.
Okay.
And how are these guys with other guys? Do you know?
Just it's hard to explain. Like the guys I know is not like you. They're not like you guys.
Photo, photo of me.
Very, very.
They chilled. You know, they're not like it's so difficult to explain. But I think
I'm
yeah.
pretty chill.
No, you're
So
not.
you don't think we are here? So
I
you
swear you
don't
have high
think
blood pressure because you're always like acting up.
Mishka
You
doesn't
always.
think we are here?
But yeah, so like I don't know, like I
Yeah.
think for me, I wouldn't go. I wouldn't. Money is not like a big thing for me. Um,
Yeah, when you have it. When you have it.
yeah,
What
but
do you
I don't
have?
Yeah,
have my
maybe
own
perhaps the
money.
women that you
But
know
I
that
don't
have the
have my
power
own
already
money.
don't go for power. No, no, no. I mean, like the women that have the power generally probably don't go for the guys that have power. Because why would they do that if they already have it?
Because they have that.
So that's what I'm saying. So that's also like another point. Like if I look at my sister and her husband, they're opposite. Like they're complete opposites. My sister is an extrovert and he's an introvert. How is he with other guys? He doesn't talk to other guys. Like
How do you know?
he's very soft and just to himself. Like he's an introvert and she's not.
Must,
So then that works.
must check up on
Well, it
him.
makes
Maybe
sense. I think what Mishka is
maybe
saying makes sense. I think what you are saying makes sense because these people they've got the qualities that these women need. And then the qualities that other women would normally need, which, for example, would need power security
Yeah.
resources.
Yeah, so that's what I'm
The,
saying. Like,
so, so
I
your
don't think
sisters,
it's a,
yeah. So your sisters, and maybe like your friends, they already have the resources the resources. They are already generating those resources. So they don't necessarily need a man to come and generate those resources. And they also have the power, and then they have the assertiveness that they actually need to survive. So now the guys that come will actually have to be the guys that offer the opposite of or the opposite of that, or things that your sisters would find of value, meaning that, as you said, compassion, loving, and then caring, and then everything, and loyalty to them, because that's also one of the things that uh, men with power want. They want men with power or with resources want. There's that once they marry you, they will want absolute loyalty from you. And then that is also one of the criteria that will keep you in the game. The day you lose that the loyalty is the day you leave. Um,
yeah, so that's what I'm saying. Like, I feel like this womanhood that we are journeying through. Like, I feel the lines are so blurred. Like, you feel in some situations you have to become assertive and bring that masculine qualities, and then in other situations you have to put it away. But it's like you still need it because you need to tap into it, and you never know when you're going to need to do that. Whereas guys are allowed to just be the way they are in every situation. So
It's
so
also
they also, like, like you can be a CEO. Okay, you're kicking butt all day, and then you have to come home and learn how to be submissive and put an apron on and cook for your husband and rub his feet or whatever is expected of you.
yeah.
yeah, and I mean it's what you're saying is very true, man. Like I know a lot of guys, and I've met a lot of guys that are very much like that. Like when I talk to them, like in a guyish type of way, or in a very robust type of way, they're very like you can see, like, hey, this guy's he's really like he's not about this. Like he's like
He
it's
thinks
almost like
you are
he went
fighting.
to
He
an all
thinks you are
girl.
fighting. Yeah.
Hey,
He thinks you are fighting. He thinks you are fighting
yeah,
when
yeah,
when
yeah.
when
Yeah, yeah. Or the topics are a bit, like, why are you talking about football? Like, I like painting type of thing. And it's like, okay, what the hell? Like, if you ever said that at all boys' school, it's like you immediately throw into the wolf.
yeah.
So yeah. So I get guys like, and I can actually see them with females because it's a bit easier to connect. He's not going to be all the time, and
Mm.
he's always going to try to get understanding. But then what I would like to know is for how long, because it's going to get to a point. It's going to get to a point where perhaps then you're going to have to be robust. Like how are you going to switch that on as a guy? You don't have it. Like what's going to happen then when you need to be
Mm.
the head of the
Yeah.
household?
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
yeah,
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, and I
yeah, so
think
those
Exactly.
things I always see them. I always see them when it's young or when it's in their 20s, and it's like that. Yeah, this guy's ideally looks like someone that I would give my a sibling to and say, yeah, marry that guy. But I know that in the back of my mind that okay, my sibling might be very strong, might be a very strong female, but at some point it's like she still needs that nurturing as well, and she still
I
needs
would.
that that
I would never.
mm,
yeah, she still needs someone to look after them. And then I'm like,
I
when
would
is
never.
that going to
I would
come up?
never.
Because he doesn't have that.
I would never give my sibling to a guy. I would never give my sibling or a daughter to a guy that 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 is too agreeable.
Yeah, but you see, that's the thing. Yeah,
It
so
just won't.
that
It
that's
just
it
won't
that that
happen.
appeals in the
becomes yeah,
beginning.
that
I
becomes the
get that, and
result.
I get that. Because when I see situations like that where the female is a bit more assertive,
Dominant.
you do, yeah, a dominant, like you do, I end up thinking, okay, when is the day that he says enough is enough? Like when he's tired of being shoved around,
Yeah,
and then what
because
Yeah.
happens? Because then now
oh
it's her personality. It's not a trait that she learned and can switch off. And now
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
how is she then going to sit and play dead when he gets up and wants to do something? You know, it's like
Yes. Yeah.
it's
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. I think that that only can, again over time the female perhaps then has to kind of taper down, and then he kind of then has to take a bit more control, or she
mm,
stays there and he just goes a bit higher. But I don't. I gotta just. I don't know. I don't see it any other way, because there comes a time where it's like, okay, well, I want someone that's going to be tough. You're gonna take that shouting all the time, and then you're gonna have guys in your family and other family members and friends that are going to be very different, and then you're gonna want to be like them as a guy, or yeah,
mm,
well, as a guy. And it's like, what are you gonna do? You're gonna take that all the whole time? And some guys will say, yeah, fuck it, I'll take it. And but then it's like, yeah, well, is that a healthy relationship? Do you think that then like as the more she shouts at you, you're just thinking,
yeah,
yeah, well, at least she gives me money, and then I'm going out and buying fancy cars. And it's like, yeah, until when? Because then your pride is going to be at risk. Your ego is going to be
yeah,
at risk.
yeah.
Then
mm,
Yeah, but it's interesting that you're just looking at that from from the guy's perspective. In fact, let's make things worse. Does the woman herself, does the woman want a guy like that? And if indeed, like she wants a guy like that, for how long? Like for how long will she tolerate a guy who just always put the tail between her legs when she yells, and
yeah,
then
yeah,
the
that's what
guy
I was
that
gonna get at. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. How long can a woman actually tolerate that guy? Because I want to think
Mm,
that, and then again, because of the men, because remember, she will be barking at this guy, and then this guy will be putting the tail between her legs every time she barks.
mm,
So he does not want to muddy the waters or talk back or even draw lines. You see, and then but at work, this woman would be dealing with the guys who are ball busters, who just tell her,
mm,
go fuck off, jump off the cliff. And then because of that, you do want to feel, you do want to feel like your men can win in some way or the other. But then because of that, you already know that your men cannot lose, because even your men cannot, if your men cannot handle you, cannot handle you, can uh, uh, is willing to crumble or to put a tail between the legs while you are yelling at him. Now imagine if this man, the very same man that you are talking to, that you are committed to, was to have your boss at work, who doesn't take nonsense, yell at him. So can you see that is already